Syria, a place where history unfolded layer upon layer for centuries. It was a crossroads of civilizations, leaving behind a tapestry rich in art, architecture, and tradition. Before the bombs fell, Syria was a place of captivating beauty. Imagine deserts painted in hues of gold and ochre, stretching towards horizons kissed by the setting sun. Picture snow-capped mountains, their peaks piercing the clouds, while valleys below bloomed with olive groves and vineyards. Wander through Roman ruins in the morning and share sweet mint tea with Bedouin nomads under a star-filled sky by nightfall. The air carried the scent of spices from bustling souks, the fragrance of jasmine clinging to ancient walls, the tang of salt blowing in from the Mediterranean. Syria, before the darkness, was a feast for the senses, a journey for the soul. It was, and in many ways still is, a place of extraordinary beauty and heartbreaking resilience. Damascus. One of the oldest continuously inhabited cities on Earth, Damascus was the beating heart of Syria. Imagine strolling through the labyrinthine alleys of the old city, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Sunlight filters through the latticework of ancient roofs, casting intricate patterns on the cobblestone streets below. The air is thick with the scent of jasmine, a fragrance synonymous with Damascus. You might stumble upon a hidden courtyard, a secret oasis of tranquility amidst the bustling city. A fountain gurgles softly, its cool water a welcome respite from the midday heat. Orange trees heavy with fruit cast dappled shade, and the scent of jasmine hangs heavy in the air. And then there's the Umayyad Mosque, a masterpiece of Islamic architecture. This was Damascus, a city where beauty revealed itself at every turn. But Damascus wasn't just about ancient stones and architectural marvels. It was the people that truly brought the city to life. The Syrian people, known for their warmth, generosity, and unwavering hospitality, were the soul of this ancient land. Imagine stepping into a bustling Damascene restaurant. The aroma of spices, grilled meats, and freshly baked bread fills the air. You're greeted with smiles as wide as the Euphrates River, ushered to a table, and soon enough, a feast appears before you. As you savor each bite, you realize it's not just the food that makes this meal so special. It's the company, the laughter, the shared stories that make you feel like you're part of something bigger. This was the essence of Syrian hospitality, the ability to make strangers feel like family. Life in Syria, before the war, had a rhythm all its own. Syrian men and women are often celebrated for their striking beauty. Their unique features, such as expressive eyes, high cheekbones, and radiant skin, reflect a rich cultural heritage. About 70% of Syrian men and women possess these distinctive traits, which are further accentuated by their traditional attire and cultural practices. The beauty of Syrian people is not just skin deep, it is a blend of their physical attributes and the cultural essence they carry with pride. This combination of physical beauty and cultural richness makes the people of Syria truly captivating. The statistics, while staggering, can never truly capture the human cost of the Syrian war. Over 500,000 lives lost, mothers, fathers, children, entire families wiped out, millions more displaced, forced to flee their homes, their lives upended, their futures uncertain. Cities like Aleppo, once a bustling metropolis and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, were transformed into apocalyptic landscapes. The iconic Umayyad Mosque in Damascus, a symbol of Syria's rich history, suffered damage. Schools, hospitals, homes, all became targets in a conflict that seemed to have no rules. The psychological trauma inflicted on a generation of Syrians who have witnessed horrors no one should ever have to see. The loss of innocence, the erosion of trust, the shattering of dreams, these are the invisible scars that will take generations to heal. The destruction of Palmyra, the ancient Roman city by ISIS, was a stark reminder of the cultural barbarity unleashed by the conflict. Syria, once a beacon of civilization, was bleeding. The Syrian Revolution, like many revolutions before it, was fueled by a potent mix of hope and despair. Hope for a better future, for freedom, for dignity. Despair at the lack of opportunity, at the stifling grip of an authoritarian regime, at the corruption that had seeped into every facet of life. The early days of the uprising were marked by a sense of unity, of shared purpose. People from all walks of life, students, doctors, teachers, shopkeepers, took to the streets, demanding change. They believed, perhaps naively, that their voices would be heard, that their sacrifices would usher in a new era for Syria. But the revolution, hijacked by extremists and foreign powers, took a dark turn. Armed groups, some with ties to Al-Qaeda and ISIS, emerged, adding another layer of complexity and brutality to the conflict. The dream of a democratic Syria, a free Syria, began to slip away, replaced by a grim reality of sectarian violence, warlordism, and a humanitarian catastrophe of epic proportions. Syria, once a proud nation with a rich history, had become a byword for suffering. Imagine having to flee your home, leaving behind everything you've ever known with nothing but the clothes on your back and the hope of finding safety for yourself and your loved ones. This was the stark reality for millions of Syrians forced to flee their homes as a result of the war. Families huddled together on overcrowded boats, risking their lives on perilous journeys across the Mediterranean Sea, seeking refuge on European shores. Children, their eyes wide with fear and uncertainty, clutching onto their parents, their innocence lost amidst the chaos. The journey itself was fraught with danger. Smugglers, exploiting their desperation, packed them into rickety boats, more suited for fishing trips than transcontinental voyages. Many never made it, their dreams swallowed by the unforgiving sea. Those who did survive often faced a different kind of ordeal: hostility, suspicion, and bureaucratic hurdles in the countries they hoped would offer them sanctuary. The Syrian refugee crisis tested the conscience of the world, and yet, amidst the despair, there were stories of extraordinary courage, resilience, and compassion. Imagine arriving in a new country, a stranger in a strange land with a different language, a different culture, and the weight of trauma and loss on your shoulders. This was the reality for millions of Syrian refugees. The challenges were immense. Learning a new language, navigating unfamiliar systems, finding work, and rebuilding their lives from scratch. Many struggled with feelings of isolation, discrimination, and the loss of their identity. Children forced to adapt to new schools and new languages often bore the brunt of the trauma. And then there was the constant worry for loved ones left behind in Syria, the uncertainty of their fate. Yet, despite these challenges, the Syrian diaspora displayed remarkable resilience and determination. Amidst the tragedy, stories of hope and resilience emerged from the Syrian people. Individuals and families rebuilt their lives, contributing to new communities. Syrian doctors and nurses forced to flee found themselves on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic. Their skills, honed in war, proved invaluable, and they were hailed as heroes. Syrian entrepreneurs established successful businesses starting from scratch. Restaurants serving traditional Syrian cuisine became culinary hotspots. Syrian students excelled in their studies despite the trauma they endured. These stories remind us of the potential within the Syrian diaspora. The Syrian war, while no longer dominating headlines, continues to cast a long shadow. The road to peace, to reconciliation, to rebuilding a shattered nation is long and arduous. The physical reconstruction of Syria is a daunting task. Entire cities lie in ruins, infrastructure is decimated, and the economy is in shambles. The international community, while pledging billions in aid, has yet to deliver on its promises. But the real challenge lies in healing the wounds that run deeper than any physical destruction. The scars of war, the trauma, the loss, the bitterness, these are the invisible enemies that threaten to undermine any hope of lasting peace. Reconciliation, in a society riven by years of conflict and sectarian violence, seems like a distant dream. And yet, amidst the ruins, amidst the despair, there are flickers of hope. Syrians, both inside the country and in the diaspora, are working tirelessly to rebuild their lives, their communities, their nation. Syria, a land of ancient beauty, of rich history, of warm hospitality, a land that has endured unimaginable suffering, a land that continues to bleed. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the tragedy, to lose hope amidst the rubble and despair. But then I think of the Syrian people I've met, both in Syria and in the diaspora. I think of their resilience, their determination, their unwavering belief in a better future. The Syrian people, despite everything they've endured, have not given up hope. They continue to resist, to rebuild, to dream of a day when peace will return to their shattered land. As we bear witness to the ongoing tragedy in Syria, let us remember the victims, those who have lost their lives, their loved ones, their homes, and let us never stop hoping, never stop praying for the day when peace will finally return to Syria.